Second point is advantages and disadvantages of database management system. First, we will study advantages of database management system. First advantage is controlling of data redundancy or reduction of data redundancy. What is data redundancy? Data redundancy means duplication of data. If same data is duplicated multiple times, then that data becomes redundant. When people started using computers in the early days, at that time they used computers to maintain data without the database management system software. That means people started using database without the help of DBMS. At that time they tried to maintain the data on simple files like the files we create in Word, Excel or Notepad. These kinds of database are called as non-database systems. Actually, in non-database systems, traditional computer file processing, each application program has its own files. Let's take an example here. For example, if we try to maintain a database in traditional computer file processing format, suppose we have 100 students and we want to maintain database for them without the help of DBMS, we need to maintain them in a file. So suppose we created a file in Notepad, for example, which is storing the information of students like roll number, name, class, percent and their phone number. This complete information we have kept in one file. Now after some duration, semester examination form filling will start. That means university's examination form will be released. Now the college started accepting the forms of students, and after a duration of time, college wanted to know how much students have filled the form and how much have not. For that, they need to create one more file. Again, that file should contain the information like roll number, name, class, and one additional column that will indicate whether the student has filled the form or not. If the student has filled the form, we should write yes. If it has not filled the form, we should write no. Now, to execute this requirement, we need to create second file with the same set of information which was already available in our computer with personal file. So already we have created one file. Suppose the name of file is personal file, and now we want to maintain second information of student, whether they have filled the form or not. So in this typical part, we need to add simply one column indicating whether the student has filled the form or no. Second way, suppose college conducts internal examinations, 2 unit tests and 1 pre-semester examination per semester. College need to maintain the records of those students who have appeared for the examination and who have not, just to calculate the dues of the students. So again, the college need to maintain third file maintaining roll number, name, class, which is already available with college, and along with this, college need to maintain 3 more columns that will indicate the percentage of marks the student has obtained in unit test first, unit test second and pre-semester. And according to the marks, college need to calculate the due. Now simply in these 3 files, first of all, college maintained the records of student as a personal file of student. In that, we maintain roll number, name, class, percent and phone number. 5 types of information. Among these 5 columns, 3 columns are completely repeated twice. One for checking whether the student has filled the form of examination or not, and the second just to calculate the dues whether the candidate has given the internal examinations or not. So this kind of duplication of data was maintained when database was maintained using traditional computer file processing format. In this case, the duplicated copies of the same data are created at many places. That means one copy of the student, that is personal file of the student, is to be maintained in college office. Second copy in the college office, whether they have filled the form or not. That copy is again maintained in college office. Third, internal examination department, they need to maintain one more format or one more file, saving the information of students whether they have appeared for the unit test or not. So this duplication of data was executed when the database was maintained in computer file processing format. That means without database management system, if someone tried to maintain the database, data will become redundant. So this duplication was avoided with the advent of database management system. Because in DBMS, multiple copies are avoided just by storing only one single copy in a centralized manner. Database do not allow to create multiple copies of the same data. It allows just to maintain one single copy in a centralized manner. Centralized control of data by the DBA avoids unnecessary duplication of data and effectively reduces the total amount of data storage required. When we are maintaining the database using a database management system, DBA is the responsible person for maintaining the database. His job is to maintain the data in a centralized manner and in non-repeated manner. That is why data redundancy is controlled. This is the first advantage. One important part is to be remembered here. When we are maintaining a database using DBMS, we can simply control redundancy. We cannot remove it because for certain executions we need to maintain duplicate data. But when we are maintaining a duplicate data, it is in our control how much duplication is allowed and how much should not be executed. That means as per the DBA execution, the duplication of data can be completed or it can be executed. See here, in DBMS, the data redundancy can be controlled or reduced, but it cannot be removed completely. Because some data, which is quite important for the DBA itself, has to be maintained in multiple copies. It is necessary to create duplicate copies of same data items in order to relate tables with each other. By controlling the data redundancy, we can save storage space. In computer file based system, duplication of data was very much implemented. That means there was no control over the duplication. But when we try to maintain the same database using a database management system software, at that time the duplication can be controlled as per the DBA choice. DBA will decide how much data should be duplicated and how much should not be duplicated. This is how we can control the duplication of data. This is the first advantage. Second is shared data. As we already have said here, centralized control of data. That means DBA, who is responsible for the database administration, will maintain only one copy in a centralized manner. Now the data which is maintained in a centralized manner can be made available to all the users at the same time, and that is nothing but sharing of data. A database allows sharing of data under its control by any number of application programmers or users. The DBA manages the data and gives rights to users to access the data. See, we already have seen this part. To avoid duplication of data, the data is to be maintained in a centralized location. When we are maintaining the data in a centralized location, DBA, who is responsible person for the database administration, will decide how much data to be duplicated. And once it is stored on a centralized location, it can be shared among all the users who can access the data. Again, sharing of data is again executed by the DBA under his own control. He will decide how many users can access the shared data and how many times they can access the shared data. the remote users can also share same data. Similarly, the data of same database can be shared between different application programs. That means just because we are saving the database on a centralized location, we can share the data to as many users as we want, whether it is a local user or it is a remote user. That complete decision will be taken out by database administrator. Third advantage is integrity. Data integrity means data contained in the database should be accurate and consistent. Data integrity means accuracy and consistency. That means data should be without any errors. That means it should be accurate and it should be same for everyone. So as I told you, data is kept on a centralized location. Suppose there are 3 users who are trying to access the data from the database. User A, when he sees the data, he will get 300 records. User B, when he will access the data, he should get 300 records. User C, who will be accessing the database, should get 300 records. If all of them are getting the same number of records, that means data is consistent. And data should be accurate. Accurate means it should be without any error. It's like, suppose we have executed one exam and we have made the passing percentage 40%. We run an exam and we have maintained the passing percentage 40%. And the student has got 38%. According to the rule, the student should be failed in the examination. Isn't it? So if he has got 40%, he will be passed. If he has got less than 40%, he will be failed. So this integrity will be checked out by the database administrator by applying constraints. See here. Therefore, data values being entered for storage could be checked to ensure that they fall within a specified range and are of the correct format. As I have told you, when we are maintaining a database, it should be integrated. Integrated means it should follow 2 conditions. It should be accurate and consistent. Consistency in Marathi we can say susangatpana. That means whatever set of data one user is getting, the same set of data should be displayed to other user. Because the data is maintained on a centralized location, though multiple users are trying to access, everyone should see same set of data which is available on the centralized database. And it should be error free. That is why it is called as accurate. Just to maintain data in integrated manner, we need to apply certain checks on the data while inserting the data into the database. And that can be possible by applying constraints on the tables. Let's for example, how to apply the integrity constraints on the table. The value for an employee may be in the range of 20 to 65. That means if we are having a database for employee, and if suppose we maintain some columns in the employee table, employee ID, employee name, employee age, 3 columns. So while entering the value in the age column, if someone tried to enter 15, value is numeric value, age should be numeric value. Correct. It is correct, but it is not accurate. Because what we have specified the condition, the employee's age should be within the range specified, 20 to 65. If a value less than 20 is being inserted into the database, it won't be executed, it won't be inserted. And if someone tried to insert a value of age 66 or more than 65, it won't be inserted. This kind of checks can be applied on the database with the help of integrity constraints, and this is the advantage of database management system. Another integrity check that should be incorporated in the database is to ensure that there is a reference to certain object. That object must exist. Suppose we have a table for, suppose we have database for employee. We have one employee who has newly joined yesterday only. Suppose we maintain the table in this way: EMP ID, name, and designation. And suppose we maintain some values here. I won't write the values now. And this is one table which is maintained by the organization. Now the information maintained here should be maintained in the accounts department as well. Now in terms of this, we again have to maintain EMP ID. Now the suppose EMP ID is entered here 100, 200, a newly appointed employee who has got the employee ID 1100. He is the newly appointed employee. Now all these employees who are working in that organization before the newly appointed employee. Now suppose if we insert this record in this table, while making the payment of this employee, suppose the name of employee is Ajay. While making the payment of this employee, the employee ID which is entered in this joining register or the joining table, the same employee ID should be there in the accounts department. So the accountant will try to enter this 1100 record. See, when the newly appointed employee is joined in the office, he will be entered into this first table, and the same information should be entered into his account department. Suppose the employee executed in a reverse manner. First of all, get it clear what should be done. Whenever a new employee will be joined in any office, first of all, the entry of that employee should be done in this file, in this table, first of all, and then the information should be maintained into this second table which is available in account. Suppose the newly appointed employee who is in relation, just for example, in this accountant, without inserting his record into the office file first, if the employee tried to enter his record here, we already have executed this part. First of all, the information of employee should be entered here. First, it should be entered here, and second, it should be entered here. That means the employee first should join the office, and then the information of that employee should be implemented in the accounts department. But the employee went to account department first and tried to maintain his record, and he asked the accountant to enter this employee ID 1100. Whenever such kind of execution should take place, a check will occur from this account section with this office section. If the entered record is matching in the office, if the entered record in account section is matched in the record entered in the office section, then only the record should be inserted here. Otherwise, it should not be inserted. So whenever the employee or the accountant will try to insert this 1100 record in this account section table, this record will be checked out in this office table. If there is no 1100 entry here, it won't be inserted here. It won't be inserted here. This is called integrity constraints. This is called integrity constraint. This kind of integrity constraints are allowed with the help of primary key, and this is called foreign key. Whenever the user is trying to execute the relationship between the table, first of all, the entry of that employee should be done here, then only it is allowed here. If it is not inserted into this office table, it won't get inserted into this account table. This is how we can enforce integrity on the database with the help of DBMS.